So welcome to today's class. We're going to start off by sitting onto our mat in a nice comfortable seated position. I just have a pillow under my sitting bones just to alleviate some of the pressure on my spine. But take a block, sit directly on the mat, whatever works for you. We're just going to take a couple of moments just to connect with ourselves. Our focus for today's class is the root chakra. The root chakra is all about grounding. It's all about safety, grounding, feeling stable within yourself. So maybe if you feel a little bit uneasy at the moment, this is the perfect practice for you. So we're going to be doing a lot of grounding postures, and I think the most necessary thing that we can do to start this practice is start with some grounding. So finding your comfortable seat, we are going to start to close down our eyes. I'm just going to take a couple of breaths here, some mindful breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. One more time, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Start to bring your attention down to your feet and your touch points on the mat, so your sitting bones. Imagine there's vines growing up from your mat into your sitting bones, pulling you down so you have a nice stable foundation. Imagine those vines growing up through your spine, lengthening and rising your spine nice and straight, all the way to the crown of your head. Feeling the sturdiness, the stability, and the grounding through these vines as you sit on your mat. Start to notice your mind. If your mind is wandering to any thoughts outside this practice, gently move your focus back to those vines or back to the breath. Finding yourself at peace with where you are currently and falling more into the present moment. I ask you to set your own personal intention for today's practice. Our theme is grounding and the root chakra, but maybe you wanted to add a little bit of your own personal intention throughout, and I totally advise that. It is your practice. So in your own time, set your intention now. We're slowly going to start to open our eyes now. We're just going to take a slight back bend first. So removing the pillow or the block from underneath your sitting bones. Sitting down on the mat here. Making sure our sitting bones are nice and grounded. We're going to place our tips of the fingers towards our lower back. On the inhale, we start contracting our shoulder blades and then pushing our chest forward, slightly arching our spine, keeping our chin on our chest. Take a couple breaths here. And then start to come back to center. And then exhale, start to fold forwards, finding a gentle forward fold. Inhale, slowly coming back to center. Moving over to our tabletop position now. Checking our alignment, so making sure our wrists are under elbows. Elbows are stacked in line with our shoulders, making sure our knees are in line with our hips. We're just going to start to focus on our touch points of the mat. So we're pushing down, protracting our shoulders, noticing the stability through our hands and our knees, making sure we're pulling in our belly button towards our spine. Take a couple of moments here. On the next inhale, we're going to drop our belly slowly, look up to the sky. Exhale, start to push away the mat as you arch your spine and drop your neck towards the mat. Inhale, we rise, dropping our belly, slowly looking up to the sky. Exhale, start rounding our spine, dropping our neck towards the mat. Inhale, we rise. Exhale, we fold. Inhale, we rise one more time. Then exhale, coming back to center, finding our stable tabletop position here. We're going to sit back onto our knees now. Bring out our knees out nice and wide, and then slowly start to walk down, finding our extended child's pose. Starting to open up the hips here. You can bring your forehead down to mat, opening up the shoulders. On the next inhale, we're going to slowly start to walk our hands over to the left side of the mat, stretching our right side of the body. Inhale, slowly coming back to center, going over to the right side of the mat, stretching the left side of the body now. Slowly coming back to center. Start to push yourself back up to our tabletop position now. Going to take my jumper off. So pushing yourself back up to your tabletop position, finding your alignment. And then from here, we're going to tuck our toes, send our hips up to the sky to find our downward facing dog. Taking any movement that serves you, so maybe pedaling out the feet. You can move your hips from side to side. Taking any movement just to warm up the body and warm up the joints. And then finding some stillness in your downward facing dog. Checking your alignment, so making sure you have your feet hip width distance apart. Your belly is nice and pulled in, making sure your knees are bent. Have a nice bend in the knees. And then you're pushing away from the mat, finding the stability through your palms and your fingertips, making sure you have some gaps in between your fingers and toes. Take a couple breaths here. On the next inhale, slowly look up to our palms. Exhale, start walking our feet to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, folding in Uttanasana. Allowing your body to fold forward in Uttanasana. If this serves you can bring opposite palm to opposite elbow. And slowly sway from side to side, just releasing the lower back. Slowly finding center. I'm going to let our arms go, hang loose like wet spaghetti, cooked spaghetti. Slowly start to roll up, vertebrae by vertebrae, all the way up to standing. Once you've arrived at the top of the mat, finding Tadasana, so big toes touching, we're going to spend a little bit of time in our mountain pose. Our mountain pose is really good for stability, for grounding. It's our stability pose. It is our grounding pose. So closing down the eyes, we're going to take all of our attention down to our feet, noticing our toes on the mat, and we're just going to lift up all 10 toes and then place down one toe at a time. And then moving up through your toes to your legs, pulling in your belly so your spine is nice and straight. We're going to roll our shoulders up to our ears and then down our spine to open our chest, opening our hands up to the front of the mat. Imagining there's a string coming out at the top of your head, pulling you up nice and tall. Taking a couple moments here just to notice yourself in space, in this stable mountain pose. Slowly start to open our eyes. On the inhale, we rise, hands above head. Exhale, we're clasping our fingers together and they're pushing away to the sky. On the next exhale, we're going to start to bend to the right side, stretching our left side of the body. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, stretch to the left side, stretching the right side of the body. Inhale, coming back to center now. We're going to come into chair pose, so releasing the arms by your side, making sure your thighs, your calves, your legs are all coming together so you have a nice and sturdy chair. On the inhale, we swing our arms by our side, bring our arms up to the sky, and then sit back into our chair, making sure our toes aren't scrunched up on the mat. Finding stability through our legs, pulling in our core so our spine is straight. Imagining those vines coming up through your legs, giving you stability. On the exhale, we start to fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, planting the palms, stepping back into high plank. Take an inhale here. Exhale, dropping the knees, keeping elbows in, lower down to your belly. Inhale, pushing up, opening the chest, baby cobra. Exhale, tucking the toes, sending hips up to the sky, downward facing dog. Take a couple of breaths here in your down dog. Then from here, we're going to move our right foot slightly more into the center of the mat. Inhale our left foot up and away, three-legged dog. Exhale, bending that left knee. Turning that left knee out, opening that left hip. Feeling the pressure through your palms as you push away. Exhale, bringing that knee back into center. That knee comes into chest, holding. Then exhale, stepping it through between the palms, helping it if you need to. We're going to turn that back foot to 45 degrees. Inhale, rise, coming up into our warrior one. You might need to step that back foot in just slightly, just to make sure you have enough stability. Making sure our hips are in line with the front of the mat, bringing our shoulders away from our ears as we're coming into our warrior one. On the next inhale, we're going to release our hands to our lower back, interlocking the fingers. Inhale, start to pull the palms down, opening the chest. Then exhale, start to fold forward, coming into our humble warrior. Making sure the toes aren't scrunched up off the mat. Inhale, slowly start to rise up, releasing the fingers. And now I invite you to come into warrior three. So shifting your weight forward, putting all your pressure on your left leg, having a nice deep bend in the knee. You're going to float your back foot up, bring your hands to heart center, or you can bring them by your side. Flexing that back foot will help with your balance. Pulling through the core, looking forward, not down. Taking a couple breaths here, opening the chest. Don't worry if you drop out, it's totally fine. Feeling the vines coming up through your foot, giving you grounding, stability. Notice your strength. Then exhale, releasing that back foot back down to the mat, floating your arms up to the sky, dropping back down into our warrior one. How'd you go? On the next exhale, start to fold forward, hands come to mat, step back into our high plank, dropping through chaturanga or knees, your choice, upward facing dog or baby cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a couple breaths here. Repeating on the other side. We're going to bring left foot into the center of the mat. Inhale our right foot up and away, three-legged dog. Exhale, bending that right knee. Turning that right knee out, opening that right hip. Oops. Exhale, coming back to center. Bringing that right knee into chest, holding. Exhale, stepping it between your palms. We're going to turn that back foot to 45 degrees. Inhale, rise. And then drop into our warrior one. Making sure the toes aren't scrunched up on the mat. Hips are coming towards the front of the mat. From here, I'm going to exhale, bring our palms behind our lower back, interlocking our fingers. Inhale, start to draw our hands down, opening the chest. Then exhale, start to fold forward, coming into our humble warrior. Slowly start to rise back up on the inhale. Then I invite you to come into your warrior three. So shifting our weight forward, putting all of our weight onto that front leg, making sure the toes are nice and separated, having a deep bend in this leg, into the right leg. Start to float your back foot up. If you have a block, you can hold onto a block here, keeping chest high. Take a couple breaths here, feeling the strength through that leg as you hold your warrior three. Palms can come to heart, or you can bring them by your side. One more breath. Exhale, start to drop that back foot, and then come back into your warrior one. Awesome. Exhale, start to fold forward, framing the front foot. Stepping back into our plank, moving through your vinyasa, whatever one you choose. Exhale, tucking the toes, sending hips up to the sky, downward facing dog. We're going to drop our knees now, send our hips to our heels and push back into child's pose. Take a couple moments here just to reconnect. Slowly start to push yourself back up. We're just going to come onto our sitting bones, placing the soles of the feet onto the mat. We're going to bring our arms underneath our knees here, grabbing onto our forearms, keeping our chest onto our thighs as we start to walk our feet out, coming into a forward fold. Slowly start to unravel yourself. We're going to start to lay down on our backs now. Bringing our legs out nice and long. I'm going to bring that right knee into chest. Give it a nice hug. Maybe rotating the ankles just for a little bit of mobility. And then you can stay here, or you can start to lengthen that right leg, holding onto the hamstring or the calf and pulling back. You get more stretch if you start to flex that foot. Making sure the left foot is still on the mat. Exhale, slowly dropping that left foot back down to the mat. Switching to the other side, so left knee comes into chest, giving it a nice hug. Maybe rotating that ankle. And then holding onto your hamstring or your calf and starting to pull back a little bit. Stretching that, flexing that foot. Slowly start to release that leg. I'm going to just bring the soles of the feet down onto the mat. And then bringing one knee into the center and then the other knee. So you're windscreen wiping your legs. Now we're going to come in Shavasana in rest. So bringing our legs out nice and long. Our hands, palm of our hands come down flat onto the mat. This is a sign of a grounding. Closing down the eyes. I just want you to start to imagine those vines again, coming up from the mat, securing you down on the ground. Sometimes we can feel like we're running all over the place. We don't know where to go, what to do. Sometimes nature can help with this if we put our bare feet in nature, going on the beach, going in grass. Another easy way is to lie like this in Shavasana, imagining the vines helping you, ground you. We can find grounding in many places. It might be family, it might be nature, it might be doing our passions. But as you know, time and things just get away from us. But I encourage you to find grounding in everyday life, even if it is just putting your feet in grass, if it's lying on your back in Shavasana for 5 minutes. Take the time to recharge, to balance, to stabilize. Thank you so much for joining me for today's yoga class. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in my next class. Bringing hands to third eye or heart center, we say Namaste.